The prisoner of Orbit 9. The cell was clean. Too clean. Sergeant Dax Morrow sat on the cold alloy bench with his hands resting on his knees, motionless. No chains, no restraints. The Thalvan Coalition didn't need them. At least, they thought they didn't. Their facility on Orbit 9 was equipped with psychic dampeners, antikinetic fields, and neural inhibitors. It was, by all measures, inescapable. To them, he was just another captured human soldier. Another piece of meat to be dissected, interrogated, and catalogued. They had no idea who they were dealing with. Beyond the thick reinforced glass, Lead Inquisitor Tolzek watched Morrow through compound eyes narrowed with disdain. The insectoid's antennae twitched in irritation. "So that's him," Tolzek hissed. "Yes, Inquisitor," replied a junior officer. "Captured during the skirmish at Delta Grid. Alone. No backup. Killed 17 of ours before deploying a thermobaric charge. We're still scraping the facility walls." Tolzek's mandibles clicked in amusement. And yet he surrendered. The officer hesitated. He waited for us. Sat by the wreckage. Said he was done. Tolzek didn't laugh, but he smiled in his own way. This was common among the humans they captured. Quiet defiance. Stoicism. It usually cracked after a few cycles. "Bring him to Chamber Theta," Tolzek ordered. "Let's find out what is hiding." The interrogation chamber was sterile and round, lit from above by a halo of white. Dax sat again, expression unreadable. His short, scarred face looked more like weathered stone than flesh. His uniform, though torn and blood-stained, still bore the faded insignia of Earth's unified military command. Tolzek entered with deliberate steps, carrying a data slate and flanked by 2 guards armed with neural lances. He didn't sit. "I'm Inquisitor Tolzek of the Thalvan Coalition. You are in Orbit 9 detainment facility. You will answer our questions," he said coldly. Dax stayed back without blinking. "We want your kill count." There it was. Tolzek relished these moments. It wasn't just about information. It was psychological warfare. A tactic. If you make the enemy quantify their violence, you reduce their mythology. Turn the monster into a number. Dax didn't respond. "You've been a soldier for, what, 20 years?" Tolzek prodded. "Surely you've kept track. Or perhaps your species keeps score like some primitive sport." Silence. Tolzek stepped closer, waving to the technician in the control booth. "Fine. You don't have to speak. We'll just extract it." A subtle hum filled the room. The air changed as the psychic scanner activated, syncing with a neural feed embedded in Dax's cerebral cortex. It was old Terran tech, integrated by force during the Extinction Wars. The Coalition had hacked hundreds of these feeds before. The technician frowned. Neural link established. Beginning memory sweep. A second passed. Then 2. The monitor began to flicker. Lines of data streamed down. Mission logs, field reports, satellite timestamps, coordinates. And then it came. Kill count, 2,811,932. Confirmed. The technician gasped. That can't be right." Tolzek snapped. "Check the checksum. Verify the integrity." "It's real. The logs are consistent. All missions match Coalition records. It's all real." Tolzek turned sharply to Dax, who finally spoke, his voice low and even. "You sure you wanted to know?" Tolzek's mandibles clenched. "Impossible. You're one man. No human can have taken that many lives. Not without a fleet." Dax looked him dead in the eye. "I was the fleet." A wave of panic rippled through the guards. One took a step back involuntarily. The scanner continued to pour data. Orbital bombardments, surgical drone strikes, colony sterilizations, black ops raids. Planetary-scale warfare. Entire ecosystems reduced to ash, all under the command or action of one man. Tolzek stumbled back from the table. What were you?" "Project Cinderfall," Dax replied. "Look it up." No one spoke. The silence in the chamber was deafening, save for the buzz of the still-running scanner. "I didn't want this war," Dax said quietly, as the lights dimmed. "But you asked for a number. Now you can't forget it." He looked up at the observation camera. Your galaxy's just starting to learn what humans are willing to do when we lose patience. The number. The scanner had shut down 5 minutes ago, but no one in the room had moved. Tolzek stood frozen near the table, his mind struggling to reconcile what he had just witnessed. Behind the glass, the technician had gone pale green, an unnatural color for his species, and was staring blankly at the data feed monitor, as if it might retract what it had shown. 2,811,932 confirmed kills. And the machine hadn't even finished parsing all of Dax Morrow's mission logs. Dax leaned back in his chair now, relaxed. The predator's calm after the hunt. His hands were folded neatly on the table, and his eyes, those cold, gray eyes, watched Tolzek like he already knew what would happen next. "You're lying," Tolzek finally rasped. "Your neural feed was corrupted. There's no way, that one human could be responsible for that." Dax gave him a small, tired smile. "It's always denial first. Then comes Faye." Tolzek turned on his heel and stormed out of the chamber, his guards trailing behind him. Back in the debriefing hall, senior analysts and military minds gathered around the feed logs. The room buzzed with tension as the data was projected in real time onto a 3D table, a cascading flood of mission identifiers, tactical readouts, satellite imagery, heat maps, dozens of planets, hundreds of operations, all of it backed by corroborating timestamps and coalition archival footage. One analyst, DriveX, a reptilian of the Harnic species, slammed a scaled fist on the table. "This has to be an AI fabrication. The humans are good with digital illusions. This is psychological warfare. AI don't generate atmospheric residue," countered the technician. "Every planetary strike matches known ecological damage. The carbon scorches, radiation traces, and magnetic anomalies match exactly. This isn't fiction. These are war crimes." No, Tolzek's voice cut through the rising argument like a blade. "Not war crimes. War art." Silence fell. He continued. "This Dax Morrow didn't just kill. He commanded orbital weapons, drone swarms, bioweapons. He made tactical decisions that wiped out civilizations to prevent galactic-level threats. The logs include full clearances, Black Ops directives, code-level clearances from Earth's unified command. This wasn't one madman." He looked up, his voice flat. This was doctrine. Meanwhile, in his cell, Dax waited. He knew they wouldn't come back right away. Not after a number like that. He'd seen the look on Tolzek's face, the slow realization, the cracking of confidence, the disbelief fighting with the data on the screen. They always asked for the number, thinking it would give them power. They never asked why. Back in the command room, Tolzek's assistant scrolled further into the data logs and stopped. "Inquisitor, you need to see this." Displayed before them was a mission brief titled, "Operation Cinderfall, Red Tier Clearance, Human Deployment Directive 94. The objective, sterilize biocontaminated moon base Omega-7, prevent galactic pathogen breach. Casualties, 1.4 million. All confirmed infected. No survivors. One operative deployed. Single-man operation," someone whispered. "No," Tolzek muttered. "Not a man. A weapon." Hours later, Tolzek returned to the cell. This time, alone. Dax looked up as he entered. "You're back. You could have lied," Tolzek said. "Given us a believable number. 10,000. Maybe 50. But you didn't." Dax shrugged. "Wouldn't have mattered. You wanted to know what you were dealing with." Tolzek's gaze hardened. "You expect us to believe that your species trained soldiers to wage war on that scale? To unleash destruction on that level?" "I don't expect you to believe anything," Dax replied. "But you should understand this. Your coalition poked a sleeping animal and expected it to play by your rules. We don't play. We adapt. Fast." He leaned forward, voice low. "When we first encountered your kind, we were outgunned, outnumbered, and centuries behind in tech. So, we stopped trying to match you and started figuring out how to beat you. With fewer numbers, higher efficiency, ruthlessness." Tolzek's voice cracked. "What does that make you?" Dax didn't blink. "Necessary." Tolzek left without another word. As the door hissed shut behind him, Dax looked up at the ceiling and closed his eyes. He knew what would happen next. They'd analyze the number. They tried to spin it, control it, hide it, but the truth would spread, and the galaxy would start to fear humans, not for what they were, but for what they were willing to become. Fear of one. Orbit 9 was silent. Too silent. Ever since the number was confirmed, the usual rhythm of the prison facility had collapsed into a strange, fearful hush. Guards spoke in whispers. Analysts refused to enter the data chamber. Even the automated systems, reacting to the sudden surge of classified human data, began triggering red-level alerts that no one dared acknowledge. Sergeant Dax Morrow remained in his cell, untouched. The guards no longer looked at him through the glass. They looked past him, around him, anywhere but at him. One guard, young by Thalvan standards, finally asked the question everyone else feared to speak. How many more are there like him? His commander didn't answer. In the central hall, Lead Inquisitor Tolzek stood before the Emergency Council hologram. A triad of high-ranking alien officials floated above the table, each speaking for their own species. You let him live, hissed Chancellor Vrex of the Caesari Dominion. He surrendered, Tolzek replied evenly. Killing him would have served no purpose. Besides, we now know the full scale of. You know nothing, spat Vrex. This human could be lying. This could all be part of some elaborate psychological weapon. The logs are real, interjected High Analyst Julu of the Mon Collective. Her many eyes blinked rapidly. The damage has been cross-referenced with satellite data going back decades. Hundreds of engagements. Entire campaigns. All matching our own records. The numbers are real. The third hologram, Admiral Koth from the Thalvan Fleet Command, remained quiet until now. This Dax Morrow is not just a soldier, Koth growled. He's a living deterrent. A precision-engineered nightmare. Then why hasn't Earth used more like him? Vrex asked. They probably haven't needed to, Tolzek said darkly. If one was enough to destroy entire colonies and bioweapons labs, why risk more? Julu's voice was cold. We may be looking at the reason the humans have grown so quietly in the galactic shadows. They've been hiding their monsters in plain sight. Back in the lower levels of Orbit 9, things were beginning to fray. A group of 4 guards posted outside Dax's cell argued quietly. One of them had requested reassignment. Another had stopped eating after seeing footage from Operation Cinderfall. The third had begun whispering strange things during night watch. Do you know what that number means? One of them muttered. That's more than the population of half our colonies combined. He's lying, another said weakly, but his voice cracked on the word. Then why hasn't Command denied it? The first guard looked toward the cell door. Because they are scared too. Inside the cell, Dax sat quietly, listening. He didn't need enhanced hearing. Alien facilities had poor acoustic insulation, always had. He could hear the arguments. The Fae. It was working. Tolzek returned hours later, alone again. No data slates. No guards. Dax didn't rise to greet him. Just watched. The Inquisitor's shoulders drooped now. He was no longer a figure of arrogance. He looked like a man who'd glimpsed something vast and had no idea what to do with it. I've spoken with the Council, Tolzek said. They are considering preemptive action, a military solution to what you represent. Dax tilted his head. You planning to bomb Earth? No, Tolzek sighed. They know better than that now. Then what? Something quieter. Sanctions. Isolations. Strategic quarantines. Some of them want to force Earth to surrender its classified military files. Others think humanity should be disarmed. Dax snorted. Good luck with that. Tolzek sat for the first time. He rubbed his mandibles as if exhausted. Why? He asked suddenly. Why would your species allow something like you to exist? You're not just a soldier. You're a ghost. A weapon in human skin. Dax stared at him, expression unreadable. Because when humanity met the galaxy, he said slowly, we didn't meet friends. We met conquerors, slavers, empires. Your coalition wasn't the worst, but it wasn't innocent either. We realized very quickly that peace only lasts until someone thinks they can win. He leaned forward, voice low and calm. so we made sure no one could win. Tolzek shivered. You're not afraid of death, he whispered. No, Dax said, but you are. He stood. The room felt colder as he did. That's the difference between us. You build prisons. We build warnings. The shattering. The stars above Orbit 9 shifted. They always did, slowly, steadily, like distant guardians. But this time, something new appeared among them. A human warship. The UNS Valkyrie. Long and angular, matte black with no visible heat signature, the Valkyrie drifted into high orbit with all the calm menace of a predator sizing up its prey. It didn't hail. It didn't broadcast. It simply arrived, and the coalition panicked. In the command tower, alarms screamed as dozens of alien officers scrambled to analyze its profile. No IFF tag, stealth mode, full spectrum masking. How did it get so close without detection? It's just sitting there, not powering weapons, not signaling. Should we launch interceptors? Are you insane? That's a Cinderfall-class deployment carrier. It could reduce this station to vapor before our fighters even cleared the hangar. In the chaos, Tolzek did not speak. He simply stared out the viewport, mandibles clenched, dread creeping into the edges of his mind. He knew exactly what the Valkyrie was here for. Dax Morrow stood in his cell, eyes closed. He didn't flinch when the magnetic locks disengaged with a low hiss. He didn't turn when the air pressure shifted and the heavy doors opened. Two humans stood there, one in sleek dark armor, face concealed. The other, an older woman with gray hair pulled into a tight bun and the 4-star rank of Earth's unified command on her shoulder. She nodded once. Sergeant. Dax opened his eyes. Admiral. Time to go. He stepped out without a word. The guards on the floor didn't stop them. None even raised a weapon. They stood still as statues, uncertain if they were looking at a soldier or something far more dangerous. In the tower, Tolzek watched helplessly as the humans walked unchallenged through his facility. He opened a channel, desperate, cornered. Earth Command, he said, voice shaking. This is Lead Inquisitor Tolzek. You have no jurisdiction here. This is a coalition military facility. The Admiral's reply came sharp and immediate. And you interrogated one of our most protected assets without authorization. You're lucky we're not turning your moon into slag. Is that a threat? No, she said coldly. That's a warning. As the Valkyrie shuttle lifted from the hangar with Dax aboard, every sensor on Orbit 9 locked onto it. But no missiles fired. No orders were given. Not because of fear, because of paralysis. What do you do when you realize you've been holding a god in a cage? On board the Valkyrie, Admiral Stenz regarded Dax quietly. They stood in silence as the stars slipped past the observation deck. You did what you were sent to do, she finally said. I always do, Dax replied. She nodded. You think they'll back off now? They'll hesitate, he answered. They'll whisper. Some might run. Some might prepare for war. But they'll all remember one thing. What's that? Dax turned toward her, his voice like ice over steel. That one human changed everything. Back on Orbit 9, chaos bloomed. The footage of Dax's extraction leaked. Whether by accident or sabotage, no one knew. But within a standard rotation, every major intelligence agency in the galaxy had the number. 2,811,932. The image of Dax, unshackled, escorted by ranking human officers onto a warship no one had seen coming, spread across 1,000 networks. Some species believed it was propaganda. Others knew better. A few called him a war criminal. Most called him a warning. And across the stars, military leaders whispered the same chilling question. If that's what one human can do, how many more are there? Tolzek didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. The number replayed in his head, again and again. Not the footage, not the reports, just the number. He paced his office until he collapsed, breathing shallow, hands shaking. And when his assistant found him the next morning, the Inquisitor was on the floor, muttering the same line over and over. 2,811,932. Over and over again. Far away, In a secure Earth facility deep beneath a quiet moon, Dax Morrow sat alone in a darkened room. Not a prison, not a throne, just a room, waiting, because he knew it wouldn't be long before the galaxy knocked again. And when it did, they'd ask another question, and he'd give them another answer, one they wouldn't survive.